What is happening?
I will tell you what is happening. I am saving my best friend's marriage.
Bazinga! For fans of The Big Bang Theory, that one word instantly brings back memories of Sheldon Cooper's sarcastic zingers, the quirky banter between nerdy friends, and the ever-charming Penny, played by Kaley Cuoco. For 12 seasons, the series brought science jokes and pop culture references into living rooms across the globe, becoming one of the most beloved sitcoms of all time. But while the characters' lives on screen seemed carefree and fun, the behind-the-scenes environment was a different story. The cast worked under a surprisingly strict set of rules, some logical, some downright odd, designed to keep the show running smoothly, maintain continuity, and protect the actors. Scripts were sacred and improv was forbidden.
Penny. Penny. Penny.
What?
You're an actress, correct?
I'm not an actress. I'm an actress.
The snappy dialogue of The Big Bang Theory might seem like the kind of writing that invites a little improvisation, but the show's producers had a strict no improv rule. Melissa Rauch, who played Bernadette, compared the scripts to a beautiful concerto, explaining the actors didn't want to mess with a single note. The writing was tightly constructed for rhythm and timing, and ad-libbing risked throwing off the delicate comedic flow. Jim Parsons took this precision to heart. Playing Sheldon meant tackling some of the show's densest scientific jargon, so Parsons committed to memorizing his lines word for word. He carried index cards filled with dialogue, reviewing them constantly to perfect his delivery. While the rare spontaneous moment, like Amy's over-the-top tiara reaction, did make the cut, these were exceptions. For the most part, the cast treated every line on the page as untouchable. Marvel characters were off-limits.
I'll get it! Oh no!
Oh no!
Make way for the fastest man alive! Oh no!
See, this is why I wanted to have a costume meeting.
To anyone watching closely, it was obvious that The Big Bang Theory's geeky ensemble had a soft spot for DC Comics. Sheldon dressed up as the Flash, posters of Superman and Batman covered their walls, and Stewart's comic book shop overflowed with DC merchandise. But where was Marvel? The answer wasn't an oversight, it was a rule. Warner Brothers, the studio behind the sitcom, also owns DC Comics, which meant those characters were easily licensed for use. Marvel characters, however, would require expensive and complicated licensing agreements, and the studio wasn't willing to jump through those hoops. As a result, Marvel only got the occasional verbal nod or a cameo from Stan Lee himself in Season 3, but the costumes, posters, and merchandise stayed strictly DC. Press junkets were practically a second job.
Good morning and welcome to Science and Society. I'm Dr. Sheldon Cooper, BS, MS, MA, PhD, and SCD. OMG, right? Perhaps that joke was a little too hippy-dippy for this crowd.
Being part of the cast of The Big Bang Theory wasn't just about memorizing lines and showing up for filming. The stars were also contractually obligated to promote the series, and it wasn't optional. Interviews, late-night appearances, international press tours, and convention panels became a regular part of their schedules. Even when the cast members were promoting other projects, they were expected to give The Big Bang Theory a mention. For some, this was fun. Kunal Nayyar fondly remembered an international press trip to Brazil, describing the crowd of hundreds who gathered outside their hotel as, quote, like being the Queen of England. But others, like Johnny Galecki, found it stressful. He admitted he often lost sleep before high-profile talk show appearances, nervous about being himself rather than hiding behind Leonard. Practical jokes were banned after one went wrong.
There's nothing wrong with the science here.
Perhaps you mean a different thing than I do when you say science.
Okay, how's that?
You actually had it right in the first place. Once again, you've fallen for one of my classic pranks. Bazinga.
On the surface, the Big Bang set was filled with camaraderie and lighthearted fun, but Chuck Lorre drew the line at pranks. Johnny Galecki and Kaley Cuoco learned this the hard way while filming a dinner scene for Season 6's The Tangible Affection Proof. They planned a harmless stunt in which Galecki would fake punch Cuoco, causing her to fall out of her chair, but things didn't go as planned. Instead of laughter, the prank ended with Cuoco bleeding from a gash on her face, caused by hitting her head on the chair during the fall. She needed stitches and had to be carefully filmed from certain angles until the injury healed. Laurie responded by banning on-set pranks altogether, posting signs with tongue-in-cheek warnings like, "No more jokes." This rule wasn't just about stopping mischief, it was about ensuring that production stayed on schedule and no one else wound up in the emergency room. Cast members had to stay humble.
Leonard, prepare to be humbled and weep at the glory of my genius.
Nope, it was better before.
Look at it. I feel like my mind just made a baby. And it's beautiful. It's not like human babies, which are loud and covered in goop.
Holy crap, Sheldon. Did you just figure out a method for synthesizing a new, stable, super heavy element?
Yo, did I? Well, that can't be right. No one's ever done that before, except me, because I just did it.
As The Big Bang Theory grew into a global phenomenon, co-creators Chuck Lorre and Bill Prady knew that fame could easily go to their actors' heads. To prevent this, they made a concerted effort to keep everyone grounded. This meant frequent one-on-one check-ins with cast members to remind them of the importance of the ensemble over individual stardom. Kunal Nayyar admitted he got swept up in the whirlwind of sudden fame after their first appearance at San Diego Comic-Con. Lorre and Prady called him in for a serious talk, advising him to slow down and focus on the bigger picture. The cast also kept each other in check, bonding on off-site retreats and even regular ping-pong games. These measures weren't just about humility, they fostered the tight-knit dynamic that made the show's chemistry feel so authentic on screen. Beards and big changes were banned.
Leonard, you're back.
Yeah, I just stopped by to say, Yeah, so hi.
Damn it, I should have gone over and told her we were back.
In real life, Johnny Galecki, Simon Helberg, and Kunal Nayyar often grew out beards during their off time. On set, though, forget about it. The producers wanted to maintain the clean-cut, awkward aesthetic of Leonard, Howard, and Raj. They believed facial hair made the characters look too cool, so the cast kept the razors handy. Even when facial hair did appear, like in the Season 3 premiere, when the guys returned from the North Pole with dramatic beards, it was largely for comedic effect, and fake beards were used for filming. It wasn't just about beards either. Chuck Lorre preferred the actors avoid making any drastic changes to their appearance during the run of the series. Characters like Penny, Sheldon, and Howard had become visual icons, and any changes risked disrupting the audience's connection to them. Science wasn't just for show.
Hold on, pause. Something doesn't make sense. Look, in 2015, Biff steals the sports almanac and takes the time machine back to 1955 to give it to his younger self. But as soon as he does that, he changes the future. So the 2015 he returns to would be a different 2015, not the 2015 that Marty and Doc were in.
This is Hot Tub Time Machine all over again.
While Sheldon's lectures and the group's whiteboard scrawls may have gone over the heads of most viewers, they weren't random gibberish. The Big Bang Theory prided itself on making its science references authentic, and when Mayim Bialik joined the cast as Amy Farrah Fowler, that authenticity only got stronger. Bialik isn't just an actress, she's a neuroscientist with a real PhD. She often double-checked the equations and terminology used in the scripts, ensuring that even the most complex jargon had scientific merit. Dangerous hobbies were strictly prohibited.
Sheldon.
Danger! Danger!
No danger. Look, it's just me, Penny. Listen, I got to level 25 and reached Purple Lotus Swamp, right?
You're in my bedroom.
Leonard gave me an emergency key.
People can't be in my bedroom.
In 2010, Kaley Cuoco suffered a terrifying horseback riding accident that nearly ended in disaster. Thrown from her horse and trampled, she ended up in the hospital with a serious leg injury that required immediate surgery. At one point, doctors even worried she might lose her leg. Chuck Lorre called it, quote, the darkest, most frightening time in all 12 years of the show. The incident rattled the entire production and led Lorre to enforce new rules restricting risky offset activities. In one of his famously tongue-in-cheek vanity cards, he decreed no friggin' horses. This includes those found on merry-go-rounds and in front of supermarkets. He also added bans on motorcycles, boating, and other high-risk hobbies. Wardrobe was non-negotiable.
Most epic wardrobe room
I think ever. Everyone has their own wall. You got Raj over here, all his sweater vests. You got Leonard on this side. I think this robe might be one of the most famous robes in television.
It's that and Archie Bunker's.
Leonard's robe. Star Trek?
Checking out Star Trek.
I got it right.
From Howard's colorful skinny jeans to Amy's layered button-up ensembles, The Big Bang Theory's costumes were as much a part of the characters as their catchphrases. But those distinctive wardrobes came with a price. Simon Helberg often joked about the struggle of wearing Howard's tight pants, admitting he sometimes needed assistance, and even butter, to pull them on. Mayim Bialik also recalled sweating under Amy's heavy outfits, which rarely changed despite the seasons on screen. These weren't comfortable choices, but they were consistent, and consistency was key. Once the characters' looks were set in the early seasons, they were locked in, regardless of how uncomfortable it got for the actors. Performing for a live studio audience.
Imagine your problems are a pen.
Okay.
Now imagine you're holding that pen.
Okay.
Now open your hand and let it go.
But I just got this pen. It's got my initials on it and everything. Look.
Unlike many modern sitcoms, The Big Bang Theory was filmed in front of a live studio audience. This gave the show its authentic laugh track and helped the writers gauge what jokes landed with viewers. But it also added extra pressure for the cast. Scenes that pushed boundaries, like Sheldon spanking Amy, were made even more awkward when performed live. Jim Parsons admitted, doing these moments in front of an audience could be nerve-wracking, especially with little time to rehearse. Now it's time to hear from you. Which of these behind-the-scenes rules was most surprising? Let us know in the comments.